Hey guys, welcome back to the Goodfellow Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Barone. If you like us, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and don't forget about our Patreon channel too, because we got some extra content on there that I don't like to show everything on the air here too. Also, we got, don't forget to ask Joe. So you could ask me about my personal life, the Wise Guy life, some questions that maybe been bothering you to my loyal viewers and even to the new ones, and that is fine too. We also got right now, some Goodfellow memorabilia. We got some mugs, we got some shirts, we got some backpack, we got all kinds of stuff. So check that out, see if you like it, and we're going to be doing some promotions with that too. So hope you like that. Also, today's podcast is about how my neighborhood shaped my life, how it brought me to where I am today, and what made leaded me to be what I was, and all of this kind of stuff like that. But with that, I also want to say, don't forget, please look into the Mafia Roundtable with my good friend Dominick Cicale. He also has Cicale's Corner Unfiltered. A lot of good stuff on there. He's got his vodka, cigars. He's got the new toothbrush thing. And oh, just look at it. You guys will like him. A lot of good stuff there, a lot of good content. Also, he'll be coming out with a book too as well, The Perfect Crime Family. With that, I also want to show my other friend's book, my good friend Charlie Buono from Crime to Christ. I'm actually going to start, believe it or not, by reading a chapter in here, real quick, a page, because this is also has to do with how the neighborhood shaped my life. And so I got a lot of stories about people's families and stuff like that. So with that, I don't want to hold you guys up. So this is page 26. To my father, Joe Buono, a tough man, a loyal man, a hustler, one of the best number runners there ever was, taught me how to fight, taught me how to survive, and I have to thank you for introducing me to sports and boxing, and how to take care of a family and to provide and to always be there for your wife and family. I love you, Dad. Your son, Charlie. My dad grew up very poor. He was a depression kid, which means he lived in the depression, and he was on the street at 9 years old, knowing all the ways of the streets. His mother died when he was 9 years old. My dad grew up in an Italian household. His grandmom and brought him up, and his dad, who also loved the numbers. My dad knew all the gangsters, and they all loved my dad, which was very true. He was the best number runner. He loved to gamble, loved playing cards and the horses, football games on Sundays. He used to take the bets. And I remember seeing him at the house on Sundays once in a blue moon when I used to go by. I've seen a lot, but I've also learned a lot. One of the proudest moments was when I was in state prison and got into a fight with some Mexican guy in the day room. And anybody who has been in prison knows what Charlie's talking about here. I got locked up for 30 days, and I had one of my friends call home. So Charlie had to go to the box for that fight. My friend got my dad on the phone and told him I got into a fight. He told him I was okay. Anyways, a few days go by, and I get a letter in the mail. It's from my dad. In the letter, he tells me, Charlie, keep your hands up, double jab, and throw the right hand and back with the jab. Also body shots. I was crying when I read his letter. He thought I was in the boxing ring. I wrote him back and told my dad, I'm good, Pop. It was a small thing, a few punches thrown. Anyways, I brought the letter to the yard and showed it to some of my boys, and they all had a smile on their faces. My dad loved me, and I loved him. A very special bond. I miss you, Dad, your son, Charlie. This is a really good book, like I've been telling everybody. Charlie's going to send me some extra copies, so just email us and your address if you want a copy. It's a good read, and it's really heartfelt. Charlie Buono was right. His father was a good man, a funny guy, always had a smile on his face. You wouldn't even think can handle himself, but he could. He was no joke. But you know something? Charlie Buono's father was a guy you would never want to put your hands up against because he was just that personable. Everybody loved him. You know what I'm saying? So it was not like somebody could just do that to him. Well, other families in my neighborhood too, like Lenny Montleone, came from a good family. Okay, and Lenny was a good fighter too. His brother Frank was strong as a bull, but his mother and father were wonderful people. And he got look, you got my friend Louis Galello. I got along good with both his mom and dad. I guess there's, everybody has their own family issues and stuff like that. But Louis's father was somebody you don't want to play around with, and then of course that rubbed off on Louis like it did with Charlie. You don't mess around with these kinds of people. If you thought Louis used to wear glasses a lot, and if you don't, don't let that fool you, bro, because if you made the mistake on trying him, you made a mistake. Patsy Morano's another guy too. Quiet, never look for trouble, but if he had to, he would take care of business. Now we go back to my family. My dad was in the street since I can remember. I always thought he had a job because when I was a little kid, he used to have a hairdressing shop called Crescendi's in Larchmont. And it was, a matter of fact, it was voted the most popular hairdressing place in Larchmont. So with that, that's what I thought he always did. Then later on, I seen him with the jumpsuits, and he started, I guess, hijacking trucks and things like that. But he always told me, he said, just tell everybody your dad's in construction.
How would he hijack the trucks?
I never knew because he never told me. I was young. I was only like, I don't know, 5 years old, 7 years old. He just says I was in construction, or he was like, I got to go to work. And he looked like he was going to unload trucks. But that's just the kind of guy he was. And then you had other guys in the family, like you got some people. Now, you got to remember, this is how I grew up in the West End. You had also Raymond Barreras. I didn't know his dad as well as his mother, but his mother, Raymond's mother, she was the type of woman you could tell her anything, but she also had her own code too. You know what I'm saying? She was strict. She was serious. Great lady. Great lady. And I was also really good friends with both his sisters. And of course, one of them passed away now too, Renee, and I'm like, that's sad, But so I Johnny Valenti, his mother and father were good people, hardworking people. Everybody, remember one thing: nobody was rich where we came from. Everybody was hardworking. So none of us was built, grew up with a silver spoon in our mouths or anything like that. And I guess we got into fights a lot. I guess maybe because, I guess that's the area. See, like me, I don't really know how to invest things that great. I don't know how to do a lot of different things. Like my friend Dominick will get on and he'll talk about the stock markets and stuff like that. Me, I don't really know anything about that. So, like I say, even with Dominick, they know things. People made investments. I started learning that, trying to buy a multifamily house, trying to do buy houses and flip them, apartments and flip them. So I started doing things like that, but I did that on my own. My father never sat down with me and said, do this or do that. I mean, did he give me good advice sometimes? Sure, he did. He said, hey, hang around with people who are better than you. Keep your mouth shut, your eyes open and your mouth shut, things like that. He would give me tips. I think I might have said a long time ago, he taught me never to gamble. That's another story, but I mean, I did say that, how he taught me that, and I never forgot. I was a little kid. So little things like that, he was able to teach me. He didn't really teach me how to fight, how to learn the hard way. In other words, I got the shit beat out of me a lot. But, like I said, there was other guys like in my neighborhood too. We all grew up from the West. We had Paulie Saracelli. He knew how to box. He knew how to fight. Another really great guy. May he rest in peace as well. So we had a lot of good fights. I even had problems with Joe Colangelo. One time he pulled me outside and place. Another good guy. No offense. I like Joe still to this day. And I told him, he says, oh, I heard you were talking about me behind my back. Now, I was not talking about Joe behind his back, but we went outside and I said, look, either you bring the guy here, if that's really true, or we have a problem here between you and me. That's on you because I have nothing against you. And we didn't fight, shook hands, whatever, hugged or whatever. And, we didn't have a problem, But there was like a lot of people, there's a guy, Frank Cataballata. He's related to me. Through my grandmother's side, and he grew up with some hard-working family too. Always, but he was a little bit like slow in the head or something like that. And they were all Italians. Really, really Guineas. Like they spoke fluent Italian. They lived about 3 houses away from me, 4 houses away from me. And I would always walk up the block. I'd stop and say hello, and then he goes, "Yo, Joe's your father in the mafia," and all this stuff like this. And here's another guy, knowing where we came up, never had a fight in his life. And here's a guy that now, and I talk about Charlie, Louis, and all of us guys, we had families who knew how to handle themselves. And so they produce guys who can handle themselves too. But thank God, Louis doing well for himself, smart man. Patsy, I'm sure, is doing well for himself. Lenny actually did well for himself. A lot of us we did good, but we came up the hard way. Here's a guy like this. He became an electrician. He actually, who do you think he comes to? Some guy that owed him $10,000. Who do you think got it for him? Me. He came to me. Okay. And the bottom line is I asked him for something, and he's like, he's just like he's messed up in the head. He thinks he's somebody's not. He's going out with, or he was, or I don't know if he still is, going out with Johnny Valenti's sister. And all of a sudden, he became a tough guy because he got a lot of money. But he tells everybody he's got a lot of money. He was fooling around with some girl, or some girl was hanging around him. She's like a money-hungry girl. She wants to be around a guy with money. And believe me, this guy, Frank, is not even a good-looking guy. He actually drools when he talks, okay? So somebody asked him, what are you doing with Susan, or whatever the case may be? And he goes, well, I guess she heard I got money. Yeah, she did. You told her. He tells everybody he's got money. But he goes, I don't want to tell anybody anything what I got. One thing I'm going to tell you is something about my neighborhood and how I feel. Raymond Barreras never had to talk bad about anybody or do anything himself. He was a man. He could handle his own shit. Johnny Valenti, all the people I mentioned before, they could just handle their own stuff. If same thing like with me, I was able to handle it, whatever. We don't need to have friends behind us. We didn't have to do anything, okay? If we needed friends, we had them like this. We didn't ask no questions. If somebody said, look, I got a problem. Matter of fact, one time was Raymond Barreras was used to work at the movie theater in the mall. So Lenny and I happened to go there. We happened to see Renee, and she had a young daughter at that time, Jamie, and his mom. So what happened was somebody said something stupid to him. So Raymond comes over to me, and he sits down to me. A few seconds go by. I thought he was just watching a movie with me. He goes, listen, he says, Joey, he leans over to me. He says, I got a problem. So now I have to wait. I sat through half of another movie that I didn't want to wait, but now these guys left. We grabbed these guys and we gave them a beating. You see, that's the way we acted, and that's the way we were. We just helped each other. Just like Charlie Buono's father would give us good advice and try to be around us, tell us not to get into trouble, but always watch yourself. I mean, this is the kind of family we grew up with. Lenny's mother and father always tried to feed me because I was always a skinny kid. And that's the reason why I never met Gene Barillo, but I'm hoping to meet him soon. He's a guy that doesn't take shit. Right there, ready to go. Dominick was the same way. Of course, all my friends that I grew up with the same way. So that kind of shaped me into being, I didn't like to fight. I wasn't the toughest guy in my neighborhood, but you had to do what you had to do. And this is how we grew up. And there's plenty of neighborhoods like that in the Bronx, New Rochelle, Brooklyn. When I hung around in Brooklyn, I have a lot of respect for people like that. Matter of fact, I think there was a comment. If you don't, I'm not going to read it now, but there was a comment a guy made fun about, and I don't really like to answer these comments. We don't like, people who know the life know that I'm an Italian person, okay? And so in the Italian structure, we kiss each other, embrace each other, hold each other. That's a sign of show of respect, and especially like family members, like brotherhood. So whoever made the comment, I forget what it was about, two guys talking about kissing. You don't even know what you're talking about. Appreciate the comment though, that's okay. But I just wish you would kind of gear it. If you want to know something, just ask. That's why we have the thing Ask Joe, because you don't know what you're talking about. I'll help you out the best way I can. But this Frank Cataballata, now he became a tough guy because he got money. I don't like that. Just because you got money doesn't make you a tough guy. Just because you put on a wise guy sweatsuit doesn't make you a gangster. Okay, you can go and eat in the restaurants where all these guys eat too, and who, maybe they own it or maybe they just hang out there. That doesn't make you anybody. I mean, look, Dominick had told a story, and this is the way we all were in the street, even my own friends. Even if we didn't talk to somebody like that, if we saw somebody getting in trouble in our neighborhood with somebody out of the neighborhood or whatever, we all rallied together. That's what you did back in those days. When you walked down the block, you had to stop at everybody's stoop who was sitting outside in the summertime because we all respected each other, and that was the community that we lived in. You know what I mean? And it was a, don't get me wrong, it was a good upbringing, but I only learned certain things like that way. My Jewish friends, and that I went to school with all excelled and became millionaires and all of this kind of stuff because they had the backing and a different kind of an outlook. We would actually do the fighting for them, and they didn't. And to this day, even some of the guys like T&R Jewelers, okay, I had to try on a ring or something like that. He goes, "Wow, Joe, your fingers are a lot bigger." Like his hand was about the same size as mine, but mine were all broken over people's heads and they were fatter. And he goes, "Look at your hand and mine." I says, "Well, they started off selling fruits and vegetables. They were nice guys, always treated me well." And I said, "I wish I would have been selling vegetables more and stuff and wound up with you guys, like instead of the life that I chose." You know what I mean? And to be quite honest with you, I didn't choose this life. I didn't want this life. Unfortunately, it wound up, I got geared to it because of what happened with my father. And that's the way it goes. And so I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a background with some of my friends. We all, in everybody's family, has their own things, stuff that I don't even know about probably to this day. But everybody's family has turmoil in it of some kind. In my particular family, my father did a lot of things. Now, don't get me wrong, he loved my mother. I know he did. And he tried to help her at the end. But it was too late. She died anyway, but he tried to make her happy. And I still do appreciate that of him. But he did a lot of bad things to me. And so there is a comment there. I don't know if we could read that comment yet or whatever yet. But
I think it was on Dominick's channel.
it might have been, yeah, it might have been on Dominick's channel. But some guy had said, I heard. Now, only a few people know the story, so somebody might have been talking about me that knew some of the story. They said that I robbed my father's money, and they came out and just said I fucked my father's girlfriend. Well, let me explain something to you about a couple of things. Some of that is true, but what you don't understand and what they also don't say is the other side of the coin. They don't tell you when I gave the money back to my father. After my mother died, I flipped out. Not going to lie. I hated everything. I actually wish I was dead. Okay, because I missed out a lot of years from my mother because of my father. Well, he had money in a safety deposit box, was under my name. He had money in a CD account. He had the jewelry in the safety deposit box, everything. So I went to the safety deposit box and I took everything out. It was still my father's money. It really was my money as well, too, because everything that was my father's was mine and vice versa. That's what we always said. My father always told everybody that. So anyway, my father locked himself in a room for 3 days. He wouldn't come out, and he was heartbroken. So finally, the guy Pete that I used to hang around with, as many people as know.
He was heartbroken that you'd stole the money, or because
he
of your
was just
mother's
heartbroken.
passing?
He was heartbroken about my mother. He was
Right.
heartbroken about how I took it. He was heartbroken about that I stooped to that level.
Right. All of it at once.
Yeah. See, my father was a Gemini, and I know people don't like to maybe be superstitious about your sign, but I'm a Sagittarius, and there are certain things about a Sagittarius too, certain things about a Gemini true that are very true. My father, if he loved you, he loved you. If he hated you, there was no turn around. My father was very hard to talk to. I thought I could talk to him about a lot of things, and a lot of times I could, but I needed to take that money and everything from him. I left $100,000 in a CD. I needed to take that from him to let him know that this is serious. This was the only way I could get to him.
How did he find out that you did that?
I don't know if we told him, or I think my friend Pete told him. I don't know how he found out. I forgot, but he did find out. Anyways, a couple of days went by. Pete went over to see him, and then he pulled a knife on Pete. Pete grabbed him, knocked him to the ground a little bit, and because he got scared that my father was going to stab him. And then my father and Pete talked a little bit. So then I came back to my father, and I had all the money with me, except the Corvette I bought with the money, and I was going to give him the money back for that because I was hustling myself in the street back then. He told me, keep the vet. Now, if I did something so wrong to my father, why would he say that to me? Okay, so he must have knew what I was talking to him. So I had a long talk with him in the room, in his room, just him and I. Could he understand a lot of it? I don't know. You got to remember one thing. Back in my father's days, they didn't do what they do today. They didn't tell their children that they loved them like that, and they didn't hug them all the time. Everything was tough love. You know what I mean? It's not like the same. Like if I had a son or a daughter, even to this day, they would probably be. And if I would have had children, they would have been in their 30s. I'd still hug my son and my daughter and tell them I love them because that's the way it is. That's what you should. My mother told me she loved me, and sometimes I was almost embarrassed to tell my mother I loved her back, because this is the mentality we grew up with, you know. But of course, I did love my parents, so I gave my father all the money back, put everything back in the safety deposit box, and yet I was still on. Never took me off. It was actually myself and my grandmother was on the CDs, not him. It was on one on the CD and one on the safety deposit box. Anyway, now my father has to go and run away, and he does and everything. I go back to the safety deposit box. I get him the 70,000. He goes to Honduras, and that's pretty much was the last time I seen him, except a few times that I talked to him on the phone. Well, his girlfriend, the one I fooled around with, he broke up with her because when my mother was sick with cancer, he had this girlfriend, Julie Shepherds, her name was. Well, the minute I went home and told my father that my mother found a lump, he dropped everything. I mean, almost everything. He dropped that girl, and he was by my mother's side day in and day out. Took her to holistic medications, places, tried to make her laugh. Took her all around because he said he read some book that if you laugh a lot, it helps kill cancer. So my father did everything he could. He spent any money he could, anything he could to help my mother. He really did. And that's why I know he really loved my mother, because he didn't have to do that. Now this girl, Julie Shepherds, couldn't hold a candle to my mother in any way. But, and maybe I'm a little biased because it was my mother, but I don't really care. Anyway, Julie still kept in contact after my mother passed away with my father and everything like that. And I had found out that supposedly something was going on in my family with that. I don't want to say certain things about my family in this respect regarding her, but because I got bad wind of it, I left the CD, the 100,000 in the CD, because it was under my grandmother's name. But I did take the rest of the money out of the safety deposit box with all the jewelry. And I'm going to tell you why I did it. Well, don't you think she cashed in the 100,000 CD and it never got to my father? She convinced my grandmother that it was going to go to my father, but it didn't. The other part of the reason why I did it, and now this is the big part. She came to my grandmother's house. I was still living there at the time. And she said, listen, she says, Joe, she's actually the first one who gave me a bottle of cologne for my birthday. It was called One Man Show. Anyways, and everybody knows about that in my neighborhood because I used to wear it all the time and nobody knew what I wore. Once everybody found out, then they bought it and I stopped wearing it. But that's another story. But she said, listen, I need some help in my house. So she had something in the attic. She had to get a box out. She says, could I help her? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. You know, I held nothing against her. At this time, the things weren't as bad. And this is until I found out about the 100,000 later on. So my grandmother said, yeah, help her out. Oh, so okay. So I went over to the house. I went upstairs, up to the attic, and it was a box about maybe this big, light as a feather. So I went, mm-hmm. Well, she's sitting on the couch. She grabbed me, kissed me, grabbed me by the hand, took me up to the bedroom, and we started fooling around, but her daughter walked in and it stopped. That's when I knew she was no good. Then I spoke to my friend Junior Aurelio, who used to live in, it was a split house duplex where they both rented this spot. Aurelio told me she used to hit on him all the time too. Now, I don't know if he ever did anything with her or not, but this is the kind of girl that Julie was. With that, I had suspicions. Now I found out that they took the money out of the box, so I took the money out of the CD box. They took it out of the CD. Later on, my Aunt Camille, who just passed away, my father's oldest brother's wife, told me, Joseph, later on, I'm glad you took the money because she would have took everything. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't take it to steal it. And even the first time I didn't take it to steal it. I wanted to get my father's attention. So you guys could believe whatever you want, but you want to know the true story, now you're getting it. The second time was because somebody else was going to take it. Now, my father was still alive, and I thought that, God forbid, I bought a condo, a co-op with it. So we had a place to stay. I don't know if he was going to go back home. I don't remember if that time uh, uh, what was going on.
How
but
soon before his death was this?
uh, about a year, almost a year before he died.
Okay.
Yeah, almost a year, because he was in Honduras for a while, and I forget exactly the timeline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had his money and I had all the jewelry. It wasn't until he died then I knew that it was really my money, 100%, and all the jewelry was mine as well too. But even the house that was supposed to be left to my father, okay, because my uncle Chick had a house, my uncle Charles didn't have a house. I don't know what was going to be left to him or not. Might have been later on that. I don't know. My father was always the type of guy, I don't want this house, that kind of shit. But there was a lot of underhanded stuff going on, and even more. And I don't want to say everything on the air because I don't want to talk bad about a couple people until I talk to other family members to get the okay from them, because I never discussed it with them. But anyway, there was a lot of underhanded stuff going on, and I did what I did to do it. Another part I'm leaving out right now, and I will say this, is the first time I took the money. I only had it for maybe a week, I think. It wasn't a long time. Ralphie Capola, while he was still alive, saw me in Country Club. He was with another guy. He pulls over the car, and he calls me over, and I go over to him and everything, and he says, listen, he says, about your father with the money and everything. I said, listen, Ralphie, this is my father. This is family business. Ain't got nothing to do with you. He goes, hey, listen, anything that concerns your father concerns us. He says, I'm never going to talk to you ever again. And he never did. And so, but by that time now I already got the money back to my father. But that's one of the reasons I fell out a little bit with them at that time. And Ralphie was a soldier at that time, and he was a lot tougher than me too.
In the Genovese family, correct?
That's correct. And one time I did see him, I forgot, because everybody forgets about the good part that I gave the money back and everything. They all want to say about the bad part. You forgot about the other side of that coin. There's more to the story than just that. And a lot of people leave those good pieces out. And my father forgave me, and that's all I have to worry about. And I asked my father, I said, Dad, I'll give you the money back for the car. I'll sell the car. I think the guy will sell it for me at the dealership, and I'll give you that money, and then the rest of whatever left owed, I'll give it back to you. He said, no, keep it. My father, why would he say that if he didn't forgive me and all of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at that time, I was doing bad things. I was robbing drug dealers myself at that time. Nobody kind of really knew about it until one of my friends got shot, and so we never went back down. It was a tough place in Amsterdam Avenue, but I'll leave that to another story. So anyway, with that, I wanted to answer that question because I'm actually glad that somebody brought that up in one way, because I guess somebody wanted to be smart and think like, yeah, I heard you did this and did that. You heard right, but you only said part of it. There's enough stuff out there about me to say that's true. I'll never come on here and lie. And if you don't like my reasons for doing things, everybody's entitled to all of that, and I'm okay. I don't care. Just like I said before, you don't have to like me. Everybody listen, if I saw any of one of my friends who still don't like me and they said, hey, Joe, how you doing, or whatever, and they said hello to me and that was it, they didn't hang out with me no more, whatever, what's wrong with that? It doesn't make them any less of a person. I never did anything to them, but that's still up to them, and everybody has a choice. And I'm okay with either one of them. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's a little bit of my story about how the life shaped me a little bit. I wish I did a little more things and branched out into a different kind of way. Maybe I could have been a lot more successful than I am now. But I wanted to let everybody know you are a product of your environment. Okay, you really are. And I don't put the blame. Don't make no mistake. I don't blame my mom and my father. I do not. They raised me with what they knew. And I'll love them to the day I die. And I'll see them again one day, and hopefully they'll still be proud of me, But I just want to let you guys know, everybody's a product of their environment. It takes a lot to branch out. It really does. With that, I like to do some comments. I mean, we had a lot of comments from the show I did with Joe, and with Dominic. And I also want to say this too. I'm not taking sides as opposed to I'm not involved in the Joey Molino saga there. All I did was bring up something that somebody brought to my attention that about something that Dominic had mentioned. I wanted to help him get it right because Dominic is always wants to be accurate about what he does, and Dominic does not need my help to have a battle with somebody. I'm not getting into tit for tat. Who's this? Who's that? I'm not doing that. Fighting back and forth with anybody. So if somebody had made a comment back that I'm not being drawn into that. I'm not involved with it. Just like Gene can fight his own battles. He knows he doesn't need me. Okay, even though I would back him up too if he ever needed me, because I like a guy who's serious like that. Plus, he was part of the family I was involved in, and looks like Dominic and them are really good friends. I'd probably be good friends with him too. But with that, I'm not involved with any of that stuff. I'm only involved in me. I always wanted to let everybody know about what happened to me in my life, why I went with the FBI, how bad the FBI is opposed to the mob, all of this kind of stuff. So with that, I hope you guys really enjoyed that. Anyways, you want to shoot us some comments and stuff like that?
Sure.
And there was a couple of emails that PayMan.
Yeah, why don't we start with that?
Yeah, because I apologize for getting back late with that. I don't always check them, and I leave that up to my assistant like that, but he does a great job, and we're always going to answer comments. But those real messed up ones, we ignore them. Am I right?
Yeah. All right, we got 2 emails from PayMan here.
Okay. Let's see what he says.
First one,
Excuse me.
is, "Hi, Joe. I just want to say I have a deep respect for you, man. The fact that you've been through all that and you're still standing, still telling your story, that's real strength. Life in the Bronx has never been easy, and you've seen some heavy stuff, no doubt. But don't let the guilt or the pain from back then weigh you down forever. You're doing good now, sharing what you've learned, and that's helping people. Your pops would be proud you're trying to turn things around, no matter what went down.
Wow.
Keep holding your head up. You ain't alone out there. The real one's got your back. Stay strong, my guy. Much love from someone who also respects the hustle and the heart."
Wow.
First comment, you want to respond to that, or you want to read?
Yeah, that was PayMan.
Okay.
You know that, I think he's actually the one who told me something about what Dominic was mentioning on his show. That was that hits home right here. I mean, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And you're right. I do feel guilty about a lot of different things. Look, you can do everything you can for somebody. Like my girlfriend, her dad passed away, and believe me, I think she did everything she could, but she feels sometimes that she couldn't. Now that's within her, but even if she did everything she felt that she did in her heart, you're always going to feel guilt, and you're right. I do feel guilt about that, but with what you said to me just now, and what you said, that lifts me up. That really lifts my spirits up, lifts me up a lot, and that's so positive. And I don't even have the words to describe how much appreciative I am about that. Thank you, Payman. I appreciate that.
And his second email says, "I know pain, Joe. I've been through my own share of suffering. My older brother got caught up in drug addiction when he was young, and while I was away for military service. I got the news that he had gone missing. When I came back from my deployment, I found out my dad had fallen from a height, and after they ran tests on his lungs, they diagnosed him with terminal lung cancer." Wow. "He went through a year of chemo and suffered before he passed. 7 years later, my mom passed away in her sleep from a stroke, and my brother, he was never found.
Oh.
So trust me, I understand your pain." Wow.
Wow.
That's terrible. Thank you for sharing that with us, Payman.
I could, wow. Wow. Ooh. Yeah. I guess you can relate. I mean, I can't tell you how grateful I am that you shared that with me. And let me tell you something, bro. You are in my prayers. You're in both our prayers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is. I have nothing to say about it except that I'm glad I'm here for you, and I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad you're listening. And listen, we can talk anytime you want, because that's wow, that's rough. I get it. Thank you for that payment. I really appreciate that. Jeez. Oof.
We'll move on to, that was the last email. We'll move on to,
Yeah, some comments, please.
sorry about the cut there, guys. We had to pull up the messages sent into the phone number. Again, I'll put the phone number on screen here if you want. Send in your questions, anything you want to know about the life for our segment that we're doing here, Ask Joe. And you could leave a voicemail or a written message, that's fine. So this first message says, hey, Mr. Barone, my name is Shaq from Kansas City, Missouri. I initially saw your interview you did with Vlad TV, and I've been watching your show ever since. I've really enjoyed listening to you tell your story, and I think it should be a movie one day. My question to you is, what were your goals with the mob? Did you have any ambition to become the boss one day, or was your goal just to become made? Wishing you success with your podcast and future ventures, and I'm sorry for the long-windedness.
Hey, Shaq, no problem. There's no problem with the long-windedness. It doesn't. I like the question. I also appreciated Vlad TV. He was very good. Vlad, he was really gracious to me, and I appreciate you watching that as well. Basically, I had no goals with the Mafia. I didn't really want to be with the Mafia, but it looks like I was going places with it because, I was there. I really was in it, and but I didn't really have any goals. I think the only goal I really had was just to find out who and why they killed my father. If you watched it like you said, and I know you did, and I appreciate that, that's really what I was about. Unfortunately, I was going places with the mob. I was going to be straightened out. But it looks like but I tell you the truth, my destiny was, I was headed towards the end of the road. Let's face it, once I was working with the government, I was a dead man, and that's it. So yeah, it might have been discovered about me later on, before I got straightened out, or even after I got straightened out. I was heading to the end of the road. I was a dead man. I was going to be marked for life. Matter of fact, when they call you to get straightened out, they might have had a feeling or whatever. I could have been not straightened out. I could have been shot and killed. But thanks. I really appreciate that, Shaq.
The next message is actually going to be a voicemail that was sent in Monday.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and play it live here.
Okay.
This message is for Joe Barone. It's nice to watch somebody really turn their lives around and be genuine about it. And I can see the conviction in you and the remorse and sincerity. And I hope Christ guides your life to better and greater things, and you can start to move forward from the past and all the pain you had and look forward to the good you do in the future. Okay, take care.
Wow. That was really nice. Thank you. I do pray. I know that I was doing a lot of praying when I was arrested and took my second pinch. And believe me, I know it wasn't through my own strength that I was able to get out of prison. God was working behind the scenes. I really appreciate that. I'm doing the best I can with that. And hopefully there's a reason why I was, God brought me back home. Appreciate that very much.
That was the last voicemail. We're going to go ahead and go to a few comments
Okay.
before we end off for the day here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
The Scorpion says, great episode and epic interview on Vlad TV. Good job on getting through all the FBI BS. You're a good man, Mr. Barone. Peace and take care.
Thank you, Scorpion. I am trying my best. Yeah, that FBI stuff was. Oof. We all make mistakes in this life, but I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Jojo C718 says, is your hair real? It looks flawless.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it's real. I too had hair transplants. Matter of fact, it's still thin on top. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's still a little thin, when it's especially on the direct light. But all of this whole front, this whole section, and even some in here, was all from the back of my head and put back into the front. So yes, it is real. But thank you. I do the best to look good.
Elf on the Shelf, Philly, says, Don't worry, Dom got word from Big Vinny in the Bing. He says that he still loves you, and he said that someday you guys will be riding again to AC in the vet wearing angel wings. LOL.
Hey, that's nice. I hope we should send that to Dominic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, there was a real special bond between Vinny and Dominic, and I even seen that when I was in the law library. Vinny and myself, I could see how he was talked about Dominic, and I know he missed him. I know
You think
he
he
did.
looked at him like a son almost, or more of a brother?
Probably both in some ways, because even when Vinny told me, he said, "Listen, don't." He told me not to flip. He didn't know my background. He said to me, and I'm 1 year or so younger than Vinny. He says, "I'm talking to you like I would talk to my own son," and that really meant a lot when he said that too. He knew how to talk to people. Vinny is still he was a good guy. He made a mistake too. Why, I don't know. I can't explain it. But he still is a good guy. That's why we had a really good crew together, all of us, and we were really going to be strong out there. Believe it. This didn't happen between all of them. Yeah, I would have been dead probably, but them, we would have had a good strong crew.
Thunder Wiz 8959 says, Joe, have you ever eaten at Raffidi's on Main Street in New Rochelle? I also lived for a short time on Shore Road and Drake Avenue.
Well, I do know Shore Road and Drake Avenue. Obviously, I don't know if I ever went there. You sure it says Raffidi's or Rafferty's?
Raffity's.
Rafferty's. Okay, I see it up there. I don't know if I ever ate there or not. But I appreciate the question. But when I went to New Rochelle recently, it's not New Rochelle to me anymore. I don't know what happened to the place, but it's not the same New Rochelle that I grew up in. But thanks for the question.
Salvatore says, so let me get this straight. You guys were going to whack Hippie in Waterbury's. Wouldn't that mean that you were going to have to go to war with the Genovese family? Your mentor, Big Ernie, Quiet Dom, Danny, Leo, Michael Ragusa, that would have been interesting.
And who asked that question?
His name is just Salvatore. So.
Salvatore, yeah. You have a really valid point there. I don't know if we were actually going to whack him or not. I don't know if that was going to happen. It probably was. Because and whoever else he was with too, because he did hang around with his own entourage. That's why there was 4 of us there. But that could have started a war. But Dominic was more in with the Genovese family than even I was. Now maybe it could have caused anything, but I think Dominic, because there's rules, like I know, but that's actually a good question to ask Dominic. As a matter of fact, we'll try to save that question for him, send it to him, and hopefully you'll tune into Mafia Roundtable or Cicale Unfiltered, because that's actually a really good question. You're right though, Sal. It could cause a war and it's supposed to get you killed. When you're not supposed to kill another wise guy, especially for another family. So, a very, very good question. Somebody who sounds like he understands the life a lot more.
Right. Tom King 853 says, if this was back in the day, Joey Merlino would have been whacked for going on social media, having a podcast, etc. This shows you the state of the mob today, where a boss, quote unquote, of a crime family has to have a podcast to make money. It's wild.
Wow. Who was that said that?
Tom King.
Tom King, man. Phew. You see, now there's another guy that gets it and knows. You know what I mean? See, I'm not involved in that back and forth with him, but that's the truth. You don't get on social media. Look, I have nothing to lose. I did what I did, right? And so, it's not that I have anything to lose, but if I was in that life, you don't talk to reporters, you don't give any answers, you don't talk to police, you don't talk to anybody except for who's in your own crew, and then you even be careful about what you're talking about with them in certain times in life. And about certain things, but that's excuse me, but that's right on the money. So he knows what he's talking about too. Look, I think we mentioned on the live thing what we did with Dominic, even Joe Colombo got killed for what he was saying. Now, here's Joe Colombo was a good guy, and he still got killed. So, and matter of fact, I think I even said it before. Michael Francis, I think, was right there when he got killed. He was young at that time. So he's right on the money, 100% correct. Thank you for that comment. Appreciate it.
J. Christopher 1762 says, gentlemen, I've been following this genre on YouTube for the last couple of years. Most of these guys are just trying to relive the olden days. However, you are both different. You are real guys who are still hustling but doing it the legal way. I love that you both have stayed friends. Keep it real and give us the straight dope on the stories. Love you both.
Absolutely. Thank you for that comment. It's when we think about the old times, we laugh about the things, Dominic and myself. But yeah, you always want to relive it, but it's long behind us now. Look, I'm out of that life a long, long time. Dominic's out a long time, and we are definitely going to keep the straight talk going. And the hustle, I think the hustle might have been a little bit easier in some way when we were in that life, only because, you know, it's harder to do things and to some degree straight up. But thanks for that comment. Appreciate it.
Avital4414 says, one of the reasons I prefer the Godfather movies to Goodfellas or Casino or The Irishman is the Godfather's original theme music. Scorsese makes his movies into music videos. His soundtracks give me a headache.
Yeah, I like The Godfather. I mean, listen, that's really the meat and potatoes of, that was really opened up the door for a lot of different things. But I'm pretty much in agreement with you as well. Thanks for that comment. Appreciate it.
Puppet Master 706 says, that was interesting seeing how much power this thing has in the Bronx, particularly the Genovese family. Great questions, especially about Hippie. I didn't know he was an addict.
Yeah.
He must have been a great earner because he was Patty
Falsetti.
Patty Falsetti's acting captain for years. It's good to hear Patty's the official consigliere now, taking over / working with Patsy Perillo.
Yeah, Patty Boy's a good guy. I used to work with his brother too at the Jacob Javits Center. Yeah, Patty Boy's a good guy. My father and him, they got along really well too. Hippie, look, was he an earner? What he did, I don't know. I don't know what he earned by. I don't know anything like that. But I do know other things about him, about the fact that he still doing coke at his age, probably stuff like that. And these people could have been good, but he is where he is, and like a lot of people are going to give him the props because he's around those people, and of course, like I said, he's the captain now, whatever. So yeah, that was a good comment. Thank you.
We'll do a few more here.
Sure.
Gurn Blastin 5000 says, always wondered why Brooklyn didn't like Bronx Lucchese crews, if it was specific bosses or ingrained before Amuso.
Yeah, it's probably ingrained. It's almost like sometimes in the Bronx, one guys don't get along from Country Club, and they don't get along with the guys from Pelham Bay. Or it's such nonsense because if you were from Brooklyn, you have a problem coming to the Bronx and vice versa. Sometimes, I mean, I don't get it. Like New York doesn't like Jersey and vice versa. We're better Italians than you. That's stupid. So what are you wearing? The same shirt I'm wearing? Oh, it's so stupid. Because there was a lot of when I was in Brooklyn, there's a lot of good guys from Brooklyn too. So you're right. That's pretty much the way I take it. But that was actually really good. Yeah. Thanks.
Kevin Smith says, finally caught up with all the shows now. Keep up the good work. 2 genuine guys. I just have to catch you guys on the live now. He says, also, can I have a shout out for my fiance V? Cheers, Joe.
Hey, Kevin Smith, and to your fiance V. Salute. I hope everything's going good. Thanks for tuning in, and hope you guys are working out good. Hope I'd like to come to the wedding if I could, but I don't know if that's possible. But thanks, Kevin. And once again, V, shout out from the Goodfellow Podcast.
Next Level says, hey, Joe, I'm loving all your content. Keep up all the fantastic work. Much respect and love. German.
Hey, German. Is that the same German that's on Dominick's channel?
Well, Cynthia responded to his comment, so yeah, it could be.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Sherman. Appreciate that. And thank Cynthia, Suzanne. I mean, you guys are great. Been really loyal to me, and really thank you for following me. Appreciate that.
Here's a couple of comments from Cynthia.
Okay.
She says, people can change and your fans have your back. People can change and your fans have your back.
That's true. People can change. some people do lie about it, but you can definitely change if you want to change. Right on the money, Cynthia. Thanks, and thanks for being a loyal fan. Appreciate it.
She also says, Joe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I even tried to say this before. I just because it's I don't know. I'm a pretty agreeable guy. That's funny.
We'll make this the last one here.
Okay.
Dom Calandra. I'm not sure if he's related to the other Calandra you guys were talking about. Vinny
Jimmy Calandra?
Jimmy
Oh,
Calandra.
okay.
I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
if he's related or not.
I don't
but
know.
He says if they have enough money to put up double in collateral, then they do not legitimately need the money. And he's talking about, I think it was a clip of you talking about how the mob takes collateral versus like, if you don't pay, they come and break your legs.
Oh, yeah.
Now they'll just take collateral beforehand. In case you don't pay, then they take the collateral, whatever you put up.
Okay, so then read his question one more time this way. Now I can understand what he's saying.
He said if they have enough money to put up double what you're loaning them in collateral, then they don't legitimately need the money.
Okay, so but they come to us anyways. Well, sometimes they can't sell the jewelry, or maybe they don't want to sell it, or maybe they. It's almost like think about it as this: is if we're a pawn shop, a lot of times people they'll come in there, they'll put the thing on ice for a little while, and then they'll have to come back and give the exact same money, maybe even a profit because of something back to them. So it's almost the same thing. Um, if they're able to sell their jewelry or their car or something of value to them, they shouldn't have to come to us. So in one way, you're right, and I get that. But listen, putting up the collateral for a guy like me, it saves me a lot of headache. You know what I mean? And plus, this way, I'm like, hey, look, you had your chance to do what you had to do. You missed the payment. I might even have let him go for two. Who knows? Depending on the situation. And I cash in what I got to cash in. I got to eat too. But that was a good comment, though. I get it. Anyway, guys, that's the last question for today. I hope you, excuse me. I hope you like today's content. Before I leave, I want to say this one thing. I'm trying to end every show with a little something extra, but so this is how I want to end it before we go. Some people come into our lives, and some people go, and others become a part of you. Some friendships feel like they'll last forever, and others end far too soon. Not every friendship is meant to last a lifetime, but what does last forever is the pain when that person is gone. I did not write that. Once again, I don't take credit for anybody else's stuff. That was actually from the CW movie The Flash, and had a little something to do with today about what happened with people and friends I grew up with. With that, I wish you guys the rest of the great week. Peace and love to everybody, and thanks again for all being loyal to me and tuning in.